Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Milburn, editor of the MSP Channel Insights portfolio, and today I'm joined by Kathleen from WSO2. So to begin, could you introduce yourself, your role at the company, a little bit about the company itself, and how your kind of work fits into the company's broader AI and cloud strategy?
Sure, that's quite a long question, but I'll see if I can get through it. So I'll start with an introduction. So my name is Kathleen Nelson, and I'm the Vice President for Cloud Partners here at WSO2. My role is I sit at the intersection of both cloud product as well as the go-to-market. And the goals and objectives that I have is to drive alignment between AWS and Azure and any of the hyperscalers that are relevant for any of our customers across the globe. So they could be a host of a few additional hyperscalers as we continue to mature in this space. We are increasingly focused on where we can help govern AI, especially when you look at what WSO2 does. We sit at the intersection of API management, of identity management, which is a huge part of agentic identity, as well as integrations. For those who may not be familiar with who WSO2 is, it's very interesting. I'm so excited to be here. We've been around for actually over 20 years. And we are an open source technology company. And when you take a look at the various use cases and who uses us, we're used by over 50,000 enterprise users across the globe today. We sit across well over 90 countries. I think I forget but it's well over 90 countries. And when you look at the industries that we're focused on, especially regulated industry is a really good example. We have over 200 plus banking and financial services customers. We have over 200 government entities across the globe. We touch about 2.5 billion citizens across the world. So we've been around for quite a while. We're very excited about our cloud journey because that's where the digital transformation, a lot of it is happening today. And as you can see, we've established technology company that can help customers achieve some of their objectives, especially around AI.
Yeah, that was a great introduction. Thank you. And you are currently at the AWS Summit in London, where you're going to be talking about the idea a lot about kind of AI becoming more of an architectural necessity rather than an afterthought. So, what does that shift kind of actually look like for organizations building and managing their digital platforms?
Well, it's very interesting because when we start to look at AI and agents more specifically, it's kind of like being treated as a bolt-on.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at what really makes an effective architecture for AI, where we sit, where we understand very, very well is that governance could be and should be at the very forefront about how you start to think about your AI architecture.
Mm.
And that's what we're actually here promoting today.
Yeah, and you've spoken a bit about a unified agentic kind of nervous system spanning AI agents, APIs, integration, identity. So how should organizations kind of approach building something like that without disrupting the system that they're already kind of relying on?
Well, it's actually a really, really good question because we're not promoting the fact that you need to rip and replace everything because most companies today already have some sort of API management. They already have some sort of identity. They already have some sort of integration. And to rip and replace versus optimize what you currently have,
Mm.
start to think about governance and where you can put pieces in that help increase your ability to manage AI governance across your enterprise. Because if you think about a nervous system, you're connecting, right? By the end of the day, you still have all your different organs that you're connecting to and that sort of thing. So we're not asking you to replace the what we're looking at is ways that we can modernize those so that you can effectively drive effective AI governance.
Yeah, and I can imagine that's definitely not straightforward. So what kind of challenges do you see kind of people coming across while trying to scale AI responsibly while still meeting that kind of governance compliance and security requirements and all of those things?
Yeah, so a couple things. We're seeing a ton of AI experimentation out there, a
Yeah.
ton. And when you look at, especially where, we play in regulated industry very well, it's tough to think about going to production because it's the risk, right, that are associated with it. So the way that we see this is if you can start to get the architectural framework right, then it opens up the doors from going from just POCs to more and more production workloads. The second thing we're seeing is that a lot of the agentic AI is actually happening within the application itself. And as you start to think about how you look at agentic AI crossing in really being its own citizen, if you will, right,
Mm.
of delivering services, it's really hard to do unless you have that framework. So it's one thing to get to production from POC. It is a second thing to go beyond just application delivery to really be having a productive agent service.
Yeah, and as you kind of mentioned there, there's that massive shift from it being that experimentation to fully going into production. And there's kind of that growing demand for deploy anywhere AI architectures within minimal lock-in. So why is that becoming such a priority when kind of trying to transition from that experimentation into production?
So we kind of mentioned minimal lock-in. I think that that's really key because what's happening is AI is moving so quickly. And when you look at where AI was, and a really good example is, a couple years ago, there was a lot of, everybody's like doing machine learning and Gen AI, right? And now everybody's can't stop talking about agents. And,
Mm.
and the point being is that what would normally be quarterly changes maybe is actually weekly, right? There's week, and when you're trying to innovate as a company and you're trying to be differentiated as a company, you want to be able to take advantage of, whatever the models are that are going to help differentiate whatever infrastructure. And so, what is important to think about is the framework for how you, again, I keep talking about governance, how you govern
Mm.
shouldn't change, but it should be agile enough, right, to adopt any of the technology that's going to help drive your business and a pace that you want to. And that's where we see this is going to be a real key piece of delivering responsible agentic workloads.
Yeah, it seems like almost an impossible balance to have, though, isn't it? Keeping up with that innovation, but also remaining kind of safe and remaining secure. It's just, yeah, it seems like a hard task. But open source and kind of SaaS platforms are often seen as balancing innovation with control. So how is organizations kind of using these models to improve developer productivity while still maintaining kind of that strong governance and security that we spoke about?
Yeah, open source is very key for innovation. It helps companies move faster. Their open source continues to evolve as needs of the business change. So really key and important for developers to create the business value.
Mm.
The challenge then becomes operating consistently across scale. And your developers, they don't need to be managing the infrastructure, right? They just need to know that their policies are able to be enforced that they created. And that's where SaaS comes in. SaaS is a consistent, cost-effective way of managing it, taking the burden off of your developers so they can focus on what they're good at, and that's driving innovation and differentiation for their companies.
Right. And we kind of mentioned at the beginning the kind of partnerships with hyperscalers like AWS. So how does that collaboration kind of help organizations adopt AI capabilities while maintaining sovereignty over their data and their platforms?
So cloud is key for a variety of different things. Cloud is key for driving scale at a global scale,
Yeah.
right? And so the infrastructure, I look at it as it's the highway, right?
Right.
The infrastructure itself is the highway. Your agent is like the fastest, shiniest car with literally no limitations. And so you're putting this car onto an infrastructure that can go global, go anywhere where you want it to go. And what happens is that you need stoplights, you need traffic control, you need all these different things that ensure that super fast, crazy, high performance agent doesn't go right? You need to be able to know where it's been,
Yeah.
right? And did it violate anything that it was supposed to or not supposed to? So while cloud opens up the doors for this massive highway for you to drive, these highly powerful agents across the infrastructure, you still need all those controls in place in order to ensure that it doesn't kill anybody or it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't violate. You know what I'm talking about, right? So.
Yeah. I love an analogy like that. It does really help me kind of picture it. So that's great. And then kind of looking ahead is always my favorite question, even though it's probably near impossible to answer because things are changing so quickly. But kind of in the future, how do you expect enterprise AI platforms and architectures to kind of evolve over the next few years? And yeah, what do you see coming up that maybe you're quite excited about?
I think that where we're going to see differentiation is that everything that we've been doing from a hyperscaler perspective, a lot of it has been application centric.
Right.
But where I think the changes are going to happen is that it's going to be more interaction centric. It's going to be we're going to be less reliant on the application and so much more reliant on what we can actually do from an agent perspective. We are going to see an explosion of agent identities. And you think, your agent is acting as a first class citizen. It's acting like, as you or me. And
Yeah.
how many agents could I potentially have? So you can think about the explosion and where we're giving permissions and capabilities to do. So at API driven interactions are going to absolutely explode. So
Mm,
the way that it comes, less so much of, oh, we're consuming CPU and, all that will still continue to, well, now GPUs and all that sort of stuff. But the what it's actually going to be driving is more of how those interactions take place in real time embedded way, because this is not static. So it changes the game in terms of what your architectures need to look like in order to be effective.
mm. Oh, I feel like I could talk to you about this all day, and it's just gonna be so interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. So yeah, watch this space, and yeah, thank you so much for your time for the interview today.
Thank you.